today we're talking more about the ESTJ, which we call the practical organizer in the Myers-Briggs system. So keep listening. We'll tell you more about what these folks look like oftentimes at work. What are some key characteristics? Three tips if you're an ESTJ to help you maximize your strengths, and one stretch opportunity, as well as three tips to support ESTJs if you have a loved one or a coworker who's an ESTJ, which you probably do. So keep listening. First, big picture overview of the ESTJ. Again, we call the practical organizer. They're extroverted, so we call them solar power. They need that external energy to be able to bounce off of. They typically talk through their thoughts when they're feeling at their best, and so where they start might not quite be where they end. And then S in the Myers-Briggs system stands for sensing. So they're detail oriented, chronological, step by step. ESTJs, I would for sure, are very detail oriented, step by step, chronological, meaning they take in information in a really chronological, specific way, and then they like to put that information back out in a really chronological, specific way. So they might say things like, "Here are three things that we're going to do." And the T, that third letter in the Myers-Briggs system, stands for thinking. So we all think, we all feel, but ESTJs have a preference for making decisions based on thinking, meaning based on logic. So they want to step out of the situation, create a precedent for all future situations, rather than step into the situation first and think about what are the nuances. They really want to create big picture processes to kind of follow and then stick to those processes. And then J, the final letter of the Myers-Briggs system, is judging. And so this means that they prefer closure. So it does not mean that someone is judgmental if they have a J in their Myers-Briggs profile, but they look at that environment as decisions to be made rather than options to be explored. So people with judging preference, just kind of keep it simple, prefer closure. They really like to create those step-by-step plans and work exactly according to plan, like click through those check boxes and get that stuff done. So thinking about that, ESTJ, some core traits that they may have are decisive, like really decisive, make a decision quickly, move on. Responsible. So if there's some kind of plan or goal that you're working towards together, they want to really knock that out and create that, see that closure happen, do those next steps, take that responsibility on. And then task oriented, so that ST in particular are always going to be task oriented, and ESTJs for sure are no joke. They really want to have that to-do list, want to create it, knock it out, make it happen, and feel really good about that. So strengths in the workplace might look like structure. So ESTJs oftentimes will want to provide structure. That's how they can breathe and like feel good if they get that structure. Want to bring efficiency to the workplace, and then accountability. So again, typically very responsible, going to knock it out, and going to like say, what are our goals? A few goals we work towards. Let's knock those goals out and make it happen. Potentially based on their behavior and the communication out in the world. Here's some potential famous ESTJs. So Ella Baker, Frank Sinatra, James Monroe, and Judge Judy. I would say Judge Judy, like really on it, wanting to get those things done, very decisive. And so here we're going to give you three tips that if you're an ESTJ might help you to really maximize your strength. Again, you probably take pride in getting things done right. You want to know like what's on the page, what are we trying to do, what are we trying to accomplish, and really get that done. So because that gives you some good comfort, go ahead and step one is to create your systems early. Don't be shy about it. Like you probably are not anyway if you're ESTJ, but go ahead and create those systems, get your processes ready to go. I think you really are a style that shines when the expectations are really clear up front. So when you're working with other people, be sure to like run those by people and make sure you get on the same page with them about what the systems, I would say processes are as well. A second tip for ESTJs is to communicate your plans. So you might assume that other people see the world the way that you see them, just like all of us do. We all have a specific way that we see the world, and we think other people see it that way. It's not the case. So I think this is why a tool like the Myers-Briggs is so helpful. So that second tip is to communicate your plans. So yeah, you might think that other people see the things that you're seeing, but it will be more successful when you bring people along with you. So tell people the rationale, like here is the process that we're creating together, or here's the system, here are the goals, and here's our project plan. Here's how we're going to knock it out. Go ahead and tell them the rationale so that they're more likely to get on board with you and help to accomplish your goals. That is really important. We all have to accomplish things with a team. So make sure to communicate your plans with other folks that you're working with. And then a third tip for ESTJs is to use deadlines to your advantage. Again, you probably are pretty strong at and comfortable like creating a goal, creating a deadline, maybe some benchmarks along the way, and getting that thing done. So go ahead and like leverage and trust that skill that you have. Create your deadlines, make sure they're reasonable, make sure that you run them by your team that you're working with, and knock that out and sort of demonstrate that strength. It can help some other people who may need to leverage that strength that you have and may not be as skilled or energized by that as you might be. A stretch opportunity for ESTJs, because we're always growing, we're always learning, is to practice flexibility with yourself and with others. So that ESTJ profile is typically like very structured, very detail oriented, want to create goals and benchmarks and like fulfill that process, make it happen, get it done, feel great about it. But the reality is, we live in a really complex world. We're really complex people. Things are always changing. Okay. So it's important to be flexible and to understand it's great to create your plans. It's great to create your goals, to work towards it, but understand that there's going to be some flexibility along the way. So be flexible with yourself and with other people. When things don't go according to plan, be ready to go to plan B and like take a deep breath. It's okay. We all have those situations that don't go like we want them to. So the plan can be perfect, but there's still going to be adjustments along the way. So make sure that you think about that, and similarly, like allow for flexibility in the way that other people communicate. Know that other people see the world differently than you do, and give people some freedom. Like, let's make sure like that to understand that people don't always work the same way that we do. They don't see the world the same way that we do. So please give them some freedom to be able to work and see the world in a way that is different from how you are, because that's how we'll get success together. Those plans, those goals will get accomplished when we all have the freedom to work in the way that works best for us. Now, if you work with an ESTJ, I'm going to give you 3 tips to be able to support them. Again, these folks are like typically very decisive, take charge types who love that detail-oriented process and want to be strong at driving forward together to meet goals. So, tip 1 for working with ESTJs: be direct. Very important. They probably are direct. They probably prefer facts over feelings, logic, detail, specific. Just know they might bring a whole bunch of questions to you, and that's just how they see the world. And so we want to support them in that. So be direct in the way that you talk with them. No need to dance around the point, but really get straight to the point. And understand that like that appeal to emotion, we all have emotions, we all have feelings. It's just not typically the way that an ESTJ is going to want to like bring that out in the workplace in particular. So that appeal to emotion is not always going to work. The directness will work 90% of the time with the ESTJ. So be direct, tip 1. Tip 2, respect their logic. So really understand that again, they have probably really created a detailed process, and are really excited about the steps that they're taking in that process. So if you're going to challenge the plan, if you're going to ask questions about it, if you're going to bring something different to the table and bring some other ideas, make sure you come prepared with reasoning and data to support your rationale of why things might change, why they need to change. People with an S in their profile, like the ESTJ, are trust the past also. Like, what have we done that's worked out well before? How have we done in the past? How have other people done in the past? So if you want to build rationale or bring them some rationale, look at data, look at things that have been successful in the past, look at examples we can follow, and then they're really going to be more likely to come alongside you with that S in their profile, compared to someone with an N in their profile who are more big picture, what if, what could be, future oriented, let's try something different. So yeah, that second tip is respect their logic. So bring some rationale, bring some data, etc., to help like play into their logic when they're making those decisions. And then a third tip to support ESTJs is to show results. So once you like, if you've created something that has demonstrated results, that has data, make sure you bring that to the forefront and say, hey, here's some things we've accomplished. Here's the data. Here are the outputs that we've created, and have it really clear and detailed. And they'll love to dig into that. Now, if you enjoy the DISC, so Myers-Briggs system is based on the work of Carl Jung. Been meaningful to a lot of people like myself and many others across the years. And the DISC, DISC framework is also based on the work of Carl Jung. So if you're a DISC person or if you want to know more, please know that ESTJs don't overlap with DISC. ESTJs often reflect high D, so they're very decisive, decision oriented, dominant. That they have those D traits oftentimes at work if you're a DISC person, and then high C, which is interesting thing to have, but both like process oriented and outcome oriented. And so just know that that is kind of how they see the world if you're a DISC person. That's how the behaviors you might see are D and C behaviors. And so I obviously love working in the Myers-Briggs system. We do team building, we do retreats, we do long-term workshops, we do group coaching over time, one-on-one coaching. So please reach out if you'd like to learn more. Reach out to us at www.kjconsultinggroup.com. Thanks.